Gotcha! Well, after last week's party, someone didn't do a good job cleaning. So my apartment was, well, visited by some flies. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. But turning a bad situation into something positive, it gave me an idea. This week, we're doing a shoe fly. I was actually trying to do some research about the shoe fly block, and mainly what I wanted to know is why in the world would you want to call a block, a quilt block nonetheless, a shoe fly? The name itself just makes me shudder. Shoe fly. Ooh. Do it again. Shoe fly. Ooh. Shoe fly, shoe fly, shoe fly. Ooh. It's not exactly 100% clear as to how in the world this quilt block got the name, but what I did find out is this. Now, the shoe fly is laid out in a basic 9-patch pattern. That center block, well, that represents the hole that a fly can enter into a home. There wasn't anything to indicate who created it, why it was created, but all we know is that center square, that's the fly's pathway into your house. I'm gonna put a pinwheel in there just so that I can block them out. No, just kidding. Yeah, it's not much known about the shoe fly block, very interestingly. Again, why would you want to name that block, a quilt block nonetheless, the shoe fly? But someone did. Now, I do know, we did find out that the first time it was published was actually in the 1800s. So, this is a very old block. Yeah. And it's still around. So, here it is, the shoe fly block. So to make this block, what we're going to need is, I'm going to be making them out of 2.5-inch squares. So I have here 5 2.5-inch squares of one particular print and 8 2.5-inch squares of another print. Now you could use a print fabric and then a background fabric, or in this case, I'm just using 2 different colors here. So, but if you decide to go with a background fabric of a plain white square, such as this here, you're going to need 9 of the backgrounds. Okay, so in this case, 8 of the background squares. So in this case, I'm using this yellow as a background. I kind of figured that this color combination kind of looks pretty good. So now, the block is done in a 9-patch formation, and so what's going to be happening is the corners, all 4 of these corners here, we're going to make them into half-square triangles using this greenish 2.5-inch square and making it a half-square triangle using the background, and then the middle square is going to just stay as it is. So it's basically all of these cornerstones are going to be half square triangles. So let's get the half square triangle sewn first. Or actually, you know what? Let's do this first. Let's get this middle row, because there's no cutting, there's nothing, we can just sew these 3 together. So let's get that middle row sewn together. Okay, so we're going to sew our middle row together, and let me make sure the machine's on, and we're sewing. And I'm going to cut this part off. I was just actually sewing some crumbs together. And what I've been doing lately is just keeping this bin of crumbs. And I've just been kind of sewing 2 crumb pieces together, so just randomly sewing these together, just in between blocks. So here we go. Then I can cut this on off, and we can get, I'm going to press this one towards this will be my center, so I'm going to press the seam allowance away from the center since this is going to be the middle row. And we'll grab a woody here. Okay, that feels pretty good. Now let's get this one. And we'll get this. Okay, then I can kind of cut this apart. And then I'll just grab another piece of, is that going to be big enough? Just grab another crumb. I'm going to finger press this. And it'll fit right across there. So I'm just going to sew this on. Okay, then we'll press the seam allowance toward the outside. There. Okay, so this is our middle row. Now let's get the half square triangles done. So I can take this row, I'll put this aside, or actually I will put it on my design board here. So that'll be our middle row. Okay, then we have to make 4 half square triangles. So now, because I have my Seam So Easy guide here, this will be, I'm not going to be marking the fabric like I normally would with a line diagonally. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do right sides together, and then the point here will go right under the needle, and I'm going to sew a diagonal line right down the middle of this square. And down here on the Seam So Easy guide, there is a line in which I'm matching this bottom point on that line. So as we start sewing through this machine, I'm just going to be watching that that point stays on that middle line there. So here we go. Now, if you don't have a Seam So Easy guide, or if you don't have like diagonal tape, that's another popular tool. Of course, you can always draw the line and then from diagonally from corner to corner, and then just sew right on that line. Okay, so here we go. Watching the line. Okay, then we'll do the next one. Okay, and we're making 4 of these. You know what, for the sake of those that don't have this, let me just draw the lines so that you can kind of see what I mean by that. So I'm going to just draw a line diagonally from corner to corner here. And I'm just using, well, this is a friction pen, but you can use any of your favorite marking tools. Just don't use a Sharpie. That's all I say. Because a Sharpie is permanent and it will bleed. So here we go. Take that, put that away. And so I'm just going to do it right sides together. And so right on the line. Okay. So why am I doing it right on the line as opposed to drawing the line diagonally and then sewing a 1/4 inch away? These are 2.5 inch squares, and we want to keep them at 2.5 inch squares when we get to the point where we're making, or when we complete the half square triangle, we want to keep them at the 2.5 inch size. So in this particular half square triangle, you draw the diagonal line and you sew on that diagonal line. If I do take if I do have that method where you sew a 1/4 inch away on both sides, what you'll end up with is half square triangles that are smaller than 2.5 inches. So because I want to keep the half square triangle at 2.5 inches, I'm sewing right on that diagonal. Now it is going to create a little bit of waste, but well, yeah, I can just add to my crumb bin here. So I got no problem with that. And look at that, we're down to the last one. And voila, we're done with all of our half square triangles. Is that 4? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. And let's see, I can sew a crumb piece onto something. Will this fit on here? Yep. Looks like it will. Okay. And again, with these crumb pieces, I'm just matching up one piece to another piece. I'm not giving any consideration as to color, just basically some matching up the sizes of it. But again, I'm not thinking about it basically. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's get these 2.5 inch half square triangles pressed and trimmed up, and we'll meet you back. So we have our 4 half square triangles here, and what we're going to do is we're going to measure from the center line or from the seam line. Again, instead of what I did was I sewed diagonally across from corner to corner. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the square a 1/4 inch away from that seam line. Okay, it can be waste, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to start or I'm going to put this in my crumb bin. But here's our half square triangle. This should measure 2.5 inches, in which, yes, it does. So I'm going to press these seams to one side. You can press them open if you want to. On this particular block, it's not going to matter that much. And there's a little bit of overhang there. Okay. So, but for now, I'm just going to finger press the seam allowance to this darker green fabric. Okay, again, if you want to press them open, you can press them open. Then let's do the same with the other blocks. Okay, crumb bin, or you can, this is waste, but I just throw it in my crumb bin. And then I'm going to press the seams toward that green fabric there. And then let me square it up a little bit because there's a little piece of fabric sticking there at the top. Oh, didn't quite get it. There we go. And again, just pressing the seams over to one side. One more. Crumb bin. And here is the final half square triangle. And pressing it to the dark one, or to the green. Okay, there we go. So let me bring in the design board. We already got the middle row sewn together, and there was nothing that we needed to do anything special with that. And I'll put layout there. A square triangle there. Ooh, dropped one. Put one there in the corner. And there. Then these two will go there. And we have our block layout here. Okay, so now I could opt to, or if you were to turn the blocks in a different way, you'll get a totally different block here, in which that's not really a Shoofly, but that's actually a very cool looking block, I would say. Okay, but we're making a Shoofly this week, so Shooflies. Okay, so case in point, just pay attention as to making sure that the printed fabric on these half square triangles points in toward the center. If you have them in a different orientation, that's a totally different block. So, all right, let's get this all sewn up. And here is the completed block. Well, it's fairly simple, very quick to make. And the finished size of it should be 6.5. Now, people have been pointing out that I've been actually either not mentioning the finished size or I've been getting it wrong. So thank you guys for correcting me on that, and thank you for pointing that out. So I promise that I'll try to remember to give you the finished size of the block. So this one I know measures at 6.5 inches. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on making the Shoofly block. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell for notifications of when I upload the next video. And join us on Facebook at Treasure Heart Creations. And if you're sewing along with me, use the hashtag THC5252 on Facebook or on Instagram and post a picture of your block and let us see what you're working on. And I'll see you in the next video. Now go out and create something.